Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I'm joined by Joshua Pangborn for a game of Last Year. Last Year is a two-player, no dice, no masters game about two guests at a fancy hotel. You are here this summer to rest, take a break from the outside world. You are strangers to each other. You both realize there is danger lurking the halls of this place. You have to remember what happened last year. Last year will hold the answers to your survival. This game is incredible. It is one page, and in that one page, it is creepy and unnerving and evocative and flavorful. I fell in love playing this game. Like, this is so wonderful. The design is incredible. The visuals of just like one page, two sides. It is incredible. I loved it. It rips. I really hope that you check out this game. You can find more information about Last Year at MV, that's emmv.itch.io, or check out the show notes for more information. Joshua is a writer, actor, filmmaker, a queer, fat-positive horror and comedy content creator, and founder of Sidekick Productions, a queer, sex-positive, fat-positive film studio that makes award-winning content such as Demon Doctor, a love letter to 90s genre entertainment, think Buffy meets The X-Files. I mean, like, Joshua is just a fucking inspiration. There's really no other way to put it. I mean, the art that he makes, it's not only a joy to watch, but it is made with such care and precision and such an active eye towards representation and building these spaces. It's the fucking art we need to see in the world. Like, it's amazing. It's incredible. Anyway, you can find more of Joshua's work at Sidekick Prod on Twitter, Sidekick Productions on Instagram, or check the show notes for more information. And with all of that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week I am sitting down with Joshua Pangborn. Joshua, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so thrilled to be sitting down with you today. I'm excited to be playing our game today. I've been genuinely looking forward to this moment all day, and I could not be more excited.
I've been looking forward to it for the whole month of May. May was just like, how can I get May to go away so I can come to this time right now?
I honestly, I don't feel that differently. Like this, we put this on the calendar, and I was like, the more I sat with just this game and getting to play through it, I was like, this is taking up an increasingly large amount of my brain space. But before we get into the game that we are playing, why don't you let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about?
Absolutely. Well, when I'm not guesting on role-playing games and everything, I am actually a filmmaker with Sidekick Productions. Sidekick Productions is a queer, fat-positive, sex-positive production company, and we make primarily queer, sex-positive, fat-positive art. We are currently releasing our second series of Demon Doctor. That is for all of you who like the 90s genre fiction and everything. And it's basically Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets The X-Files, but much queerer. Then tune in to watch Demon Doctor. We also are in post-production on our first feature film, which is called A Taste of Youth. It is the world's first queer, fat-positive horror feature film. And we are about to start filming our brand new series, The Brooklyn Butcher. We actually start that on Sunday, so I'm really excited about that. And then, of course, you can see us every Monday night live. We do our Sidekick Power Hour, which is our 3-hour podcast every Monday night live.
So we've got a pretty great game today, and I'm very, very excited. We're playing Last Year, which is a diceless 2-player game about remembering. We are guests at an extremely fancy hotel. We are here this summer to rest, take a break from the outside world. We are strangers to one another, but we realize there's danger lurking behind the halls of this place. We have to remember what happened last year. Last year will hold the answers to our survival. So that is the vibe. We are in a creepy hotel. We do not remember what happened to us last year. We have found ourselves here to relax and unwind, but there is creepy supernatural shit happening in the background, and we have to figure out what that is. So that is the game in a nutshell, and I am genuinely so excited about it.
I am too. I mean, if I could, I like to stay in creepy hotels. So I mean, this is perfect for me. So one of my favorite places in the entire world that we probably stay at.
Usually, traditionally, we stay at it probably like once a year, as there is a creepy hotel in Atlantic City on the boardwalk that is very specifically, they host deathmatch wrestling shows sometimes, but it's also like half abandoned. It's a great vibe. It's a good energy, and it's one that's really like deep in my head as we start to like map all of this out.
I can picture that. I've been to enough Atlantic City hotels to know exactly what you're talking about. So
Good. Yes. So, the first thing we need to do is really come up with a fancy hotel name. What's the first hotel name word that pops into your head?
the Phoenix.
The Phoenix. This is the Regal Phoenix. The Regal Phoenix. The Regal Phoenix Hotel is a wonderful place. It is a horrifying place. It is a place where you are the guest among guests. Isn't that wonderful? Doesn't it terrify you to the core? Don't worry, you can't leave until it's over anyway. So we are to an extent trapped in this hotel, and we are going to collectively unravel the mysteries that are lurking in the halls. Now, this is a two-player game. This is a game built on the Belonging Outside Belonging, No Dice, No Masters framework. It is specifically inspired by Thursday by Eli Seitz and Galactic by Riley Rethel. And we have two playbooks that we can choose from. We have two character archetypes. There is the Pause, who is here to take a break from the world, but the world has caught up with you. Your power is sudden and cold, but it allows you to be one step ahead of the game. And you play this playbook if you want to find out if you can stop your world from spinning out of control. Or there is the Motion. You are here to watch the world in action, but soon everything will come to a halt unless you make your move. Your power generates an aura of momentum around you, things shift and turn, and you play to find out if you can leave before it's too late if you manage to keep going. Does one of those character archetypes really jump out to you?
I think Pause jumps out to me.
Okay. I could get into a Motion headset. That is a character archetype that I can find pretty easily in my heart. So, how the game's going to work, we have chosen our playbooks. We might hand them back and forth, but I think no, I don't believe we do, actually. But, so we also have our hotel, which has its own list of dedicated moves, and the way that this works is that we are going to set a scene. We have a list of grand moves which cost a token, so we can only do them when we have accrued tokens. And we accrue tokens by using subtle moves. Subtle moves are things that are likely to get us in trouble. Grand moves are our big ways of getting an advantage in the narrative and over the hotel. We also have hotel moves, which are sort of neutral tone setting things that might get us in trouble and might sort of represent the hotel's exerting power over us. And we are going to play through scenes exploring this hotel and sort of the weird vibes that it presents until we have both unlocked a certain number of memories, at which point we will start to have key revelations about what happened to us last year and why we are in danger in this hotel and how we can ultimately overcome it. That is the game in a nutshell. And so, any questions before we kick things off?
No, I think that I'm pretty much ready to go.
All right, so let us go ahead and set our first scene. How I want to set our first scene is we have a few like vibes provided to us by the game. We have haunted statues. Their gaze follows your footsteps through the halls. An endless garden you cannot escape, that cannot escape itself. And the constant hum of the lounge, players gambling away fortunes, glasses clinking. Does one of those vibes hit you as where you want to set your first scene? Or is there another kind of haunted hotel vibe that you kind of want to linger in this first moment of our characters interacting together?
I think my character would probably have started out in the endless garden we can't escape.
All right, I am cool with that because I think that the one thing we should probably give ourselves is probably like a name and pronouns, and then other details about ourselves will come up, I think, in play as we make moves. But a name and pronouns will probably help ground our characters in our interactions.
Sure.
I'm thinking hotel themed. Where do I want to go with this? What's the name that pops into my head?
I think Barty is who I am. And Barty uses he, him pronouns.
I am gonna say my character's name, I think, is Lester Chromium. Also, he, his pronouns. And so we find ourselves in the garden. I'm trying to decide. So, where do we find Barty in this first moment in the garden? Like, where do we find your character as I think my character kind of crashes into where you find yourself at this moment?
Well, Barty's definitely taken a book into the garden. He's probably seated on he is seated on a bench there, probably amongst whatever trees and topiary he can find, something that's set away. A lot of times you find those hedge mazes and everything, or hedges where they're sort of cut in, so there's a little bench cut into it, and you can sort of snuggle in there and not really be seen by people. I think that's where Barty would go, because he just wants to be alone and read and just have a little bit of stillness to himself.
I've noticed that on my character sheet, it has one of my vibes is birds, your trustworthy messengers. So I think that what happens is you have settled in with this book, and you kind of like glance up, and there is the most elaborate, colorful parrot that is just like plopped on a one of these like branch, or like a branch or a flower in front of you, and is not squawking or anything, just sort of staring at you. And I think with like, as you kind of like look up and have this moment with this parrot, you hear like the chattering of small talk, as like kind of not necessarily leading a group, but like kind of walking with purpose among them. You see Lester and a small group of hangers on sort of like drifting in your direction, kind of like lazily plucking flowers and sipping on sort of like island cocktails, with this sort of ephemeral energy to them as they sort of like intrude upon this very solitary moment.
I can't help but sigh with exhaustion already. Just the sight of this group coming towards me is enough to fill me with not dread, but frustration. I was really getting into this book that I was reading, and I didn't really. I came here because I didn't want to go to the lounge or any of the other places where people would congregate. I came here because I wanted to be alone.
And I think that Lester, I think I spot this. At this moment, like, the people have largely surrounded you, and I think that I spot this, and I'm gonna make a subtle move here. Because I think that, like, Lester, while being the eternal social, gadfly that he is, like, I think we know each other. Like we have established, it is established in the game that we know each other, and that we have like this connection of that we have sort of identified that there is something going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a moment of almost hiding in plain sight of like, this sort of impromptu party has broken out, and Lester kind of slides up. I think like takes a seat, leans back onto, maybe there's a bird bath near where you're sitting, kind of leans back. You feel a splash of some water as like he leans back a little, like lazily far, kind of like touching the surface of the water. And I'm going to ask you, what's our next step? What's our next step in this moment? If we wanted to talk openly.
I will sit up and slowly close my book and stand, and with a slight, ever so slight, like ever not even perceptible to hopefully most people who are watching, tilt of my head, I would suggest that you follow me, and we hopefully walk, and with the intention of walking away from the crowd that you have brought along with you, Lester.
I think Lester, I think, yes. I think that Lester, kind of like looks around, pauses for a moment, and just sort of, throwing a wink in your direction, leans over to one of these other partygoers. You know, the best place to be is where the hubbub isn't. You know, the old chestnut. And then kind of like, almost imperceptibly, almost even to you, although you know Lester a little bit too well to know when he's about to pull one of these obnoxious moves. Lester is, as I'm imagining him now, a master of the slip away party exit.
Mm.
And, like, you know him well, you know how to, like, lock your eyes on him, but, like, this party largely, he just sort of, like, drifts away like a feather on a breeze, just like, I am done here. I have no interest in this.
And
so where do I follow you?
We walk down the path and turn. I walk away from the group, who clearly wouldn't care that I'm there anyway, so they don't notice me going because I've never made much time for any of them. Barty is not really a people person, so I round the corner, and I'm picturing that again, with large hedges and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we round the corner, and it's almost like as soon as we round the corner, I breathe a sigh of relief, because the volume of the noise that is this group of people is just almost not gone, but muted, just gone, muted enough to where I feel less stress and less frustration. And then I pause and turn to look at you as you walk behind me.
Before you do that, I am going to suggest, I think that right at this moment you are making a subtle move, because you have found a place to contemplate your being. You have found a place of solitude to think through this. So take a token, and then you are going to listen carefully and find a resolution. What's the question on Barty's mind at this moment, as in the moment before Lester arrives?
Before Lester arrives, well, honestly, it's what is our next step? That's what he asked me, and that is what I am curious about. I don't know. I'm there's more to what's been going on in this life that we have than this endless party that seems to be going on at the hotel. So I don't know how to figure that out, though. I don't know how to figure out what is going on and what's going on here.
As I approach almost too fast, you kind of look up just in time to see the sun setting. I mean, it looks like the sun is moving in a way that feels like hours are passing, even in the minute and a half, that it takes Lester to get to where you've kind of hidden yourself. You feel like the sun has moved hours in that moment. And as that happens, how does I am changing the mood by hiding the sun behind curtains. The sun hides behind a curtain of clouds, and I think you hear the crowd, as Lester approaches, you hear the crowd go distant, and what felt like an intrusive moment of crowd presence now feels like almost the opposite, almost an unnerving sense of, like, we are, in theory, very close to people, but in this moment, the sounds that we get are crickets and birds, and suddenly it feels like we are lost in the woods, lost in a very dark, very dangerous wood, with the sun sort of nestled behind these curtains of cloud. And what of importance is revealed or concealed?
It sounds like, it sounds like, with this passage of, with the sun disappearing like this, it feels almost like things are light generated, which feels like without them, it's like solar powered people almost.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's one. Thank you for this. I appreciate this. Because that gives me a very, I'm gonna spend this token that I got, because that tells me exactly what I want. If I am finding a clue of a haunting nature. And I kind of walk up. How long have we been here? Barty, how long would you estimate we've been here?
I mean,
If you had to guess the number of days.
I don't even know. Every day feels both endless and immediate. It's really kind of difficult to figure that out, but
And I think
100?
And yet, and here's my clue of a haunting nature, and yet, why has every single event that we have attended why in the 100, maybe more days that we have been enjoying this restful stay at this lovely hotel, and you kind of see him roll his eyes and sort of like ominously look at all directions as if looking to see if the hotel itself is hearing itself be puffed up. Why has there not been a single nighttime event? Why has every event been strike of high noon?
I don't think I really noticed that until you said these words right now. But
I didn't notice it either. Until I realized that there was a late night picture show on the calendar that was for 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
you're right.
How can a late night picture show air at 3 in the afternoon? And then I started to realize every event has happened at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Whatever this is, if we are to make a move here, we have to figure out when nighttime is, because that seems to be when we can move around freely. That seems to be when we will not be caught up in the grand relaxing stay at this fine establishment.
So you're suggesting that the hotel is sleeping during the night?
I hadn't thought of it in those terms, but that might be exactly what I'm proposing.
Huh.
I mean, I don't like the questions that raises, but that might be... But, I mean, every living thing needs to sleep sooner or later.
I think I'm going to be doing a subtle move here as well and being reasonable in a moment of confusion.
Do it.
Because it's impossible for a hotel to sleep, and yet it seems to be what's happening. If we're going to assume that the hotel is alive, then yes, it does need to sleep. But
I mean, that does sound like it does sound like an absurd thing to accept, and yet here exactly we find ourselves. And I think as we are saying those words, I'm going to gain a token by starting an event. I think two things occur. On like old-timey loudspeakers, like an old cone speaker on a telephone pole.
mm-hmm.
We hear attendees at the Regal Phoenix are invited to the commissary lounge for a cocktail hour. Mountain drinks for the weary travelers. Today's drink theme at the cocktail hour, the snacks, beverages, and light music will be provided. Please join us in the commissary. Please join us in the lounge for more in the next few minutes. And as that happens, suddenly a wind hits, and suddenly it is frigid cold. It is that summer wind, this icy, unseasonable winter wind hits us immediately as they say that the theme of cocktail hour is mountain drinks for the weary traveler. We are struck with this like awful cold, and let me ask you, like, what is Barty's outfit at this moment in this luxurious hotel?
Well, this will be another subtle move then. I'm getting tokens left and right with this.
All right.
Because Barty is always wearing his most fashionable piece of clothing. He is always decked out in a purple crush velvet shirt, which is complemented by a nice pair of yellow slacks. doesn't know why. I don't know why I wear these clothes. I mean, Barty finds them comforting. The colors are
Mm-hmm.
comforting. The fabric is comforting. It's everything is about comfort, and yet it's also extremely fashionable. It's like a something that's on the tip of his tongue that reminds him of something in his past, but he it doesn't know what it is. I'm much like Lester. We have the same problem. We don't know what happened, but I am definitely not dressed for a brisk wind of chill, a chilling wind. It's a an outfit meant for looks, not for weather.
I think that I'm probably a little bit more like 1 degree more weather prepared than you, in part because I am imagining Lester's outfit very specifically uh as I'm very specifically imagining Thurston Howell's outfits from Gilligan's Island
Yes,
is the vibe,
yes.
um and so like I'm maybe a smidge more weather prepared, but there is definitely this moment of like it was 85 degrees a minute and a half ago or 6 hours ago depending on the sun's placement. Like it shouldn't be this cold this suddenly.
But at the same time, do we even know where we are? I mean,
I mean,
maybe
that's a good question.
where is this hotel located, Lester? Because it doesn't make any sense as weather changes that we go through constantly.
It doesn't make sense in any natural world that one would find oneself in, unless there's kind of ominously looking around, taking things in.
What do you think would happen if we don't go to cocktail hour? We always go to these events, but what happens if we don't go to one?
One must wonder. And I think at that moment, um, I think at that moment, I am actually also going to, I'm going to spend this token that I gained by introducing the cocktail hour. And I think as you ask that question, Lester leans back against a wall of this hedge wall, holding a cane, just kind of tapping it on the ground. And like at first looks deep in thought, but then kind of throws you a glance, gives a quick flash of the eyebrows, a little tiny grin, and just goes right back into thoughtfully standing deep in thought. You know, the kind of contemplation that great men put into great important things. And I am allowing the time around me to pass as I watch its every move. So I guess I'm going to ask you the question overtly. As one of the key tenets of the game is that we can both kind of hand the hotel back and forth as we go, and so I'm going to ask you directly: what happens as we stand idly outside, not at the cocktail hour? What happens as we choose to flaunt or choose to dismiss this very lovely event the hotel is putting on?
Um, we can see the hotel, I think, from where we are in the garden. It's always looming over us, and so as
Mm-hmm.
we stand there, avoiding the event, or not avoiding, but choosing to exert our independence. The the lights, I think the lights in the hotel, in the lounge, the prominent window display that allows us to see inside the lounge, they flicker. They flicker, and the people, the specks of people we can see from the distance, they all seem to be staring at us from out in place. They're not moving. They're not doing anything in the lounge except staring at us as the lights flicker, and uh, they seem fixated on us, and not a sound is coming from the hotel.
And I'm going to follow that up with I think Lester follows this up with a question like, feeling the eyes burning on both of us. So, my friend, what is our next step? It seems that we are in a chess game. You seem like the chess sort. I'm more of a Parcheesi guy.
I wouldn't say Parcheesi. I would say shuffleboard is more your speed, I think. But Lester, that is a good question. What is next? They are staring at us, are they not?
They are indeed. So I guess the question that I pose to you is, how willing to play this game are you? Are you willing to gamble against the house, or shall we hedge our bets and enjoy some lovely mountain cocktails?
I think I am not one for people right now, or ever really, but I am prepared to move my pawn forward, if you will, go with your metaphor a little bit. Let's see what happened. Let's play this out. I don't want to be here anymore. Frankly,
I don't either. And at this moment, we are standing, and suddenly we feel the first drops of rain, and it is a freezing rain. And I think that we both look up just in time to see the storm clouds roll in, and it get even darker. And yet you can still see the glimpses of the sun behind those clouds, but it is getting towards sunset, and the freezing rain is starting to roll in, and I am going to tap you on the shoulder with a cane and say, "Oh, my friend, the weather is dreadful. We should find shelter before we are trapped in some miserable freezing rain." And I gesture back towards, I imagine if it's a garden, there's like a garden shed somewhere.
I spot immediately the shed you're talking about. Something simple where the gardener probably keeps the tools and all. And I agree with you completely, Lester. We should definitely get out of this rain. I'm wearing crushed velvet, for goodness sake. I don't want to ruin
the last thing you want is to get velvet wet. That would be a disaster. Truly, us going to the shed is merely an inevitability of lovely weather ruining such a day at such a fine, magnificent establishment. We truly hate to see it, as I am saying this mid-backwards run towards the shed. We get over there. I think there is a rusted lock that I smash lightly with my cane. We get inside, and it is a dank, dark little tool shed.
And I breathe a sigh of relief, because honestly, it feels like the first time that I haven't had eyes on me in what could be a day or 100 days or more. Who knows at this point? But it feels nice to be hidden for a moment.
At this moment, we are trapped in this dank, awful, tiny little tool shed. And Lester just lets out a laugh. Just a, like... did we just sign our death sentence? It's fine.
You know what? If we did, at least something's different.
I like where your head's at. This is why we get along so well.
I agree. I mean, for goodness sake, no one here seems to have anything of substance to say other than... idle chatter. So when I discovered you, I mean, I know we know each other, but it's a lost memory, and I'm just thankful that you're here, Lester. I am.
Honestly, the moment that we met is the first actual moment that stands out to me since in this Now, you know what? We're away in this miserable goddamn hellhole that we have found ourselves in. The first conversation we had is the first actual memory that I hold of this place. And I am spending a token to remember. And I think that we do get like a flash of the first conversation that we had that was, I am going to propose. How does it feel? Do you like, here's what I want to propose, and you tell me what you think about this, or if you want to change or add anything to it. I think, what if our first conversation was after like a stage show, or is after one of these theater shows that the hotel puts on, we were the only people to insult the production.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
like that's the way that we kind of show that we weren't engaged in the idle chit chat.
100%, because that is exactly what Barty would have done. He would be the only person he feels who would have not approved of the less than performances, and for Lester to say the same thing, that would have immediately drawn him towards him.
I mean, you can only perform so well when your backdrops look like they were punched out of the back of a cereal box, but you've got to give the actors credit. And I think that there's just that moment of, and I say this with all the love in the world, this moment of cattiness between the two of us was a moment of like, oh, you are acting outside of the hotel's interest.
That is a perfect meeting for the two of us. I remember that perfectly. I will also spend one of my tokens to remember the feelings I felt at that moment, to not be alone anymore. For someone who wants to be alone, who wanted to escape the world, the endless days of repetitive nothingness that these people brought to me was very grating and made me feel like I wanted to see people, which was such a strange thing for Barty, for me. But then for someone to actually agree with me and say almost exactly at the same time what I was thinking out in my head, you said out loud, about that performance of A Doll's House that we saw. It was so refreshing.
And with that, we're going to fill in a section on one of our big questions. We are going to fill in one of the segments of our clock. We have 4 questions on the clock. Our first question has 1 segment to fill in. Our second has 2. Our third has 3. And our fourth has 4. Each section of the clock is tied to a question or a big thing for us to discover for one another. Question 1 is how we could have met before we were guests at the hotel. Question 2 is the place of the danger's attack. There is something ominous and scary building, and we could move towards learning that something awful is going to occur. We could get closer to learning the source of the danger and the threat that it brings, or we could get one step closer to learning the danger's weakness and what it takes to defeat it. Which one of these would you like to move closer to revealing?
I think we should start with probably how we could have met before we got here.
I like that, because I like that we're having this moment of like remembering this connection that we had, and then suddenly alone in this place, the one place where we've had room to think and to breathe, and where there haven't been eyes and there hasn't been the hotel staring at us. Having this like flashback to where we've met once or more times before is very compelling to me.
I agree. I think it's a natural thing that would pop up in our minds, revelations, if you will.
So, do you have any thoughts on where our characters could have met before all of this?
I feel like we were partners of some sort. Like, not. There's something very Sherlock Holmes and Watson about the two of us, I feel. Not necessarily that, but I feel like we were art dealers or something like that, or we were detectives. I don't know.
Art dealers is great. I love art dealers. I love the vibe. Because like the what that gives me is this moment of us laughing about, tearing apart this production of A Doll's House, and then suddenly we find ourselves back at a gallery. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like there's suddenly this flash that we both have that we were at this gallery. I think Lester, and you can tell me where Barty fits into this. I think Lester. I'm leaning into Lester as both my beloved and also the worst. Snooty art critic feels right. I think that I am there. I'm at this gallery. I've got my husband on my arm, and I am just like whispering snide takedowns in his ear as I kind of walk this very, very pompous, very high art gallery and I look at the installation pieces that I'm writing a review of later, where do I
Yes.
cross paths with Barty?
Barty is Barty is I think Barty is an artist. I think that he is an artist who uh knew he wasn't going to be successful, so he moved into the idea of running a gallery instead. And so that was what he chose to do because and as they say, if you can't do it, teach. So
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't succeed as a professional artist, so he made sure others could. He wanted to support and welcome and nurture artists into the world.
I think that and I think that the connection that we have in this moment beforehand is what if there is a piece at this gallery that you have arranged to show at this gallery showing that is the one piece that Lester is taken aback by.
Yes, I think so.
There's this moment where I'm being an asshole and I'm walking the halls and I stop at this one piece and I'm just staring at it, almost slack-jawed when Barty approaches.
And that Barty would be amused because he's heard Lester the whole time, bad mouthing everything in the room and then some. Because Lester might think he's whispering to his husband, but he's
a little too loud.
Whispers travel in a gallery, so that's what good acoustics are for. So Barty is. I'm incredibly amused by the look of awe on Lester's face at this piece, and I slide up behind him and whisper very quietly in his ear, "Nothing to say."
Not a word.
That's refreshing. Your husband would appreciate
it. My husband throws you the most knowing look of, I really, really do. And Lester just kind of throws you a glance. You know how to pick 'em. It's something to be admired.
Well, I am glad that you can admire something in this room.
That makes two of us. And I think as we are laughing, we find ourselves back in the shed. Huh.
Lester, do you remember how we met? I just have this strong memory of us in an art gallery that I owned.
Don't insult me in front of my husband again.
Oh, that was a nice night.
He enjoyed it. I guess I can let it pass.
Your husband, though, you have a husband, then where is he?
That's a great question.
And how did we get from that art gallery to this hotel?
Great questions all. And yet, and perhaps the most important question, the most important thing for us to ask at this moment, is I could finally ask somebody, that carpet on that hotel is the most god-awful pattern that I've ever seen in my life. It is nauseating, is it not?
Oh, good Lord, you have no idea how many times I stare at it and go,
I have been holding that in for months. It is an eyesore.
It's as though someone purposely picked something with the hope of making someone vomit, and then they would be able to replace it because it's covered in vomit.
Honestly, the vomit might be the contrast, the touch that it needs to give it some kind of a purpose. I've been waiting to say that to someone for months, and knowing that there is someone here that can appreciate art is exactly what I've been waiting for, and I cannot tell you what a relief that is.
The whole hotel, though, is made by someone as if they threw darts at a cheap knockoff hotel book or something.
Slapdash. Slapdash is the word that I would use.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, thank you.
There's a gargoyle on one corner, and then there's some sort of bizarre Art Deco installation on the next. Nothing.
Pick a theme, right?
Pick
Pick a
yeah.
theme.
A time, anything, and let alone the outfits that they're already the uniforms on the staff don't even match.
And I am trying my best to let go of eternity as we just cackle and laugh and tear this thing to shreds, and I get a glimpse of one true moment. And as we're laughing, I stop us. Do you hear that? It's nothing. It's quiet. It was raining a moment ago.
You're right, and this is a metal roof. We should be hearing something.
Dare we venture into the great outdoors?
Well, I certainly don't want to stay in here all the rest of eternity. I mean, there's not much to do in this room.
As we open the door, I'm going to gain one more token. Let me think this through. I'm trying to decide. I think what's going to happen here. I know exactly what is going to happen here. We open the door to this shed. And I am going to take this token because we open the door of this shed just in time to see the start of the afternoon's music, which is it is a yodeling act. There is to tie into the mountaineering theme. It is a yodel. There is an authentic yodeling act, and we are opening the door of the shed into the lounge where cocktail hour is happening.
Lester, that was a very short trip from the garden to the lounge.
Well, it would explain the lack of rain.
I think I'm going to spend a token, and I think I'm going to whisper an honest fear, because it's something that's been at the back of my mind the whole time, and I'm terrified because this doesn't make sense with the first of all, it seems like it could be based on just the art and the decor of the hotel itself. That would be enough to make me feel that way. But then these weird moments of traveling from the shed to the lounge without traveling, and the way that time seems to just the way that time passes, I am going to, in my most deepest fears, I whisper, are we in hell?
I hear, and you are heard. It's certainly probable. And I am going to make a subtle move, and it is a large swing. We take big swings. I am conceding to a stranger who wins again and again and again. Ask how they manage to do so, and they do not answer. I hear your fears, and I look at you with like grave solemnity. And then I flash you a grin, and I look around. I guess this lovely establishment moved its pieces in the right order and caught us in a corner. The game is not over, but it was a hell of a move. How about we go get a cocktail?
Let's get some refreshments, yes.
How do, and I'm saying this to the hotel itself, how do you do it so well? I guess we'll find out in time. I am parched. I will admit this.
I don't even know what a mountain cocktail is, though.
I don't know what's in it, but it does come in one of those barrels that they put on a St. Bernard's neck.
Oh, good Lord, how gauche.
With the themed glasses and everything, you'd think that a hotel this nice would have a little bit more decorum.
I'm surprised we're not forced to wear lederhosen.
The afternoon is still young, my friend.
Oh, no, anything but that. Well, maybe not anything, but that's pretty bad, though.
And I am going to allow the time to pass. Watch carefully. And I watch. And I watch. I'm circling this mock barrel in my hand as I am observing. And what I am noticing is that the people do not look warmed by these drinks. They do not look soothed by the drinks they're drinking. In fact, everybody looks like pale and almost gaunt, their lips bluing, their skin whitening, chalkying. I think I'm going to stick with water.
I'll notice that you have done this, and I would ask if there's a reason for the switch, considering how much we both could use to be blackout drunk at the moment.
It's not that I couldn't use a good blackout. And I kind of like subtly gesture with the two fingers to like follow your eyes, and like everyone looks freezing as though they have been trapped on a mountain for months. Everyone just looks, and I'm like, this seems perhaps the fantasy seems perhaps a bit too real.
I'll nod in agreement and put down my oversized mug, if you will, and also more in the possibility, more in the loss of the chance to dull some of this confusion for a little bit. Do you recognize any of these people?
I was actually about to spend a token to remember. And I'm so glad you asked that, because I am dropping a remember token right here.
Yes.
No. And in fact, and the camera kind of swirls around us, and it swirls back, I think, we get a camera trick where it swirls around us. We see the people, we see them shivering, we see them sipping their drinks, but getting more and more desolate, and like the room getting like starker and more like poorly lit and lights flickering. And we twirl, and suddenly our outfits are slightly different, and we are a week earlier. And it is what is the themed cocktail hour from a week ago?
The Renaissance.
Oh, the Renaissance, great. People definitely look like they are getting horrifying Middle Ages diseases. Like there is coughing and wheezing happening, and we watch I think I point to you and a rat scurries across the floor. I'm just like, And then we pan back and we're still at mountaineering hour. I remember a different set of faces is what I remember. I think if we were in hell, we would have been shuffled off by now.
Well, there's some small comfort there then.
Small comforts come where they will.
They're better than no comfort at all.
Precisely. And I think I even knowing that it is bad luck, I cheers you with our glasses of water.
Yes. I will look around the room as well at that moment, and I think I will combine a grand move with a subtle move.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I will use a token to remember. When I stop on, my gaze will stop on a man in the corner, huddled in, almost pulling blankets over himself, and sitting alone in a chair as he nurses his large beverage. And I will remember that I know this man. He is an ex-lover of mine, of all things. and his name is Franklin.
Franklin.
Franklin. Franklin. Franklin Luneski. Yes,
Franklin
that's what it
Franklin
is.
Boneski.
I haven't seen him for years and years. Why is he just there right now? So having spent a grand token on a grand move, I will move over. I'll talk to Lester one moment. I actually do recognize someone in this room. And I'll head on over to meet my old acquaintance who does not recognize me when I get over there.
And now, as we have both remembered, which of our remaining 3 questions do you want to fill in a token for? This won't necessarily give us the revelation, but will give us a glimpse of what of a revelation to come that we will eventually use to pull things together.
I think the source of the danger
That sounds great.
Reddit brings, because we're in an environment where there's a lot of danger, and yeah, I think that's what I would go with.
That feels good, because I think the memory maybe, like, I think that memory that we had of, like, a different set of faces looking in duress, and maybe we also get a shot of us at a theater show, right? And, like, us at a theater show, and, like, just a brief moment of, like, a sword fight happening on stage that bleeds out into the crowd and swords are swinging recklessly. And there is this moment, like, just this one brief these glimpses of danger and harm by way of entertainment that we can further tug out as we go.
Absolutely.
Threads for us to pull on as we go.
It's been very apparent right now that that's what's going on in this hotel.
So Franklin does not recognize you. I think is shivering and just kind of gives you a smile. Hotel air conditioning, am I right?
Franklin, it's it's Barty. Don't I look familiar to you?
Thought I took off my name tag from the group sharing session. Pleasure.
Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you as well, Franklin. If you'll excuse me, I will. I have a friend I need to regroup with.
And I think, like, as you are saying that, I think this feels like the most Lester thing is, like, as you are starting to say that, you hear the chair squeak and spin, and Lester is already sitting at the table, one elbow on the table, hand on his cheek. Were you just not even going to introduce me?
Lester, where were my manners? Of course, you would want to be in on this. Lester, this is Franklin Luneski. He is I guess I mistook him for someone that I know quite well, but he apparently doesn't know me. So guess I've got egg on my face.
Stranger is just a friend you haven't met. And I think unfurling a needlessly elaborate deck of cards. My friends, the game is 5-card stud. We don't seem to have, or rather, I don't have chips, and they keep the bottles safely tucked back there, so I don't have bottle caps. Maybe we play with, and I throw you a single raised eyebrow as if to say, if you need me to this is Lester saying, if you need me to change this answer, you go right ahead. How about we play with fun facts and confessions?
Yes, let's do that. I think we could all use a little facts right now.
And we begin playing, and sure enough, I'm going to give you a token because I think that Lester, in his way, I think that Lester is, Lester gives me card cheat energy.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that we are playing this rigged yet irresistible game, and are playing it and are like, and as we're playing it, like details of Franklin's life are coming out that are just, this is, I think, I think there's two things unfolding here. I think it is confirming that the details of Franklin's life match the Franklin that was once your lover, and also like periodically having you lose very specifically to like drop details that might jog Franklin's memory.
Yes, absolutely. Because Franklin during his revelations, Franklin seems to avoid any mentions of moments that we would have had together.
Oh, I like that. That's really, really creepy, and I like that a lot.
And so I try to say things that would make him remember, like the time we kissed right in front of the Eiffel Tower in a cheesy Paris romantic weekend. And yet, even mentioning the fact that I kissed someone in front of the Eiffel Tower on a cheesy romantic weekend doesn't seem to faze Franklin whatsoever. He seems to have no inkling that I'm talking about him.
I'm spending a token because my face I had a Jeff as Lester moment where my face just dropped. We've done this before. Barty? And I throw out a hand and I lose it. My memory, my confession is that I remember us playing this exact game and you telling that exact story a week ago.
That's impossible.
Eiffel Tower, and like I throw another hand, like I quickly, like rapidly, to Franklin's confusion, deal a hand with just the two of us, slap it down, lose. The next thing that you were going to throw out was the time that you got food poisoning on a cruise together. But you were so happy to be together that you didn't mind that you were bedridden for the entire expensive cruise that you paid for.
And that's the reason I never eat shrimp anymore. That
was the next thing that you were going to tell Franklin.
Oh my God, how could you know that though?
Because we did this a week ago.
Oh, Lester, what is going on here?
I'm spending a token to reveal a haunting clue. There are only so many faces. This is all for us. There are only so many faces that it's cycling through. Because it wants us to get swept up in the pageantry of it.
It's like an artist only had a limited number of reference points. And
it's just cycling through them one by one, and eventually those patterns and those faces are going to repeat. We've done this before.
But what made it so we didn't remember that we did this? What made us forget and repeat? And if we've done this before, does that mean we've done it before that? And if that's the case, and we are in this endless game of, I don't know if it's chess anymore or cat and mouse, and I'm doing a subtle move here, what would it take to prevail against whoever's doing this to us?
I am also making a subtle move here. And I slam down 3 cards. My confession, Franklin, is that we have been rigging this entire time because we're pretty sure that you used to be, we're both pretty sure that you used to be my dear friend Barty's romantic partner, and that you don't have a memory of this, probably because you've been cycled into this hotel. And we think that there's some kind of fucky time thing happening. Surprise, I've confessed this. And it's like, I think as this is happening, I am conceding to a stranger who wins again and again and again, and just slamming cards down as I just rattle all of this off. I'm not sure if this is actually like this is one of those horror movie strategies where you're like, it seems like the character has a plan, but also it seems like they have just fully gone on to autopilot and are just letting the chaos take over.
And Barty, I'm just watching this happen as you slam card after card after card down, just lost in watching as Franklin stares at you. And I reach out to touch Franklin's knee, in a comforting manner, trying and smile at him weakly in a way that will hopefully make him remember, in a violating any sort of decorum when it comes to touching people who haven't been inviting you to touch them, because this is somebody that I used to love. And
I think at that moment, I think you feel his knee lean into your hand almost impulsively. Is there like it is a like there's that first grazing touch, and then it is the verbal, like a non-verbal consent occurs of like the knee leans into your touch, and for like a split second he locks eyes with you and he's like, Barty, yeah, how are you? And as the two of you start to have this moment where you start to have this moment with one of these other guests. Actually, I think I might gain a token to start an event, because I think that you have this moment and then the hotel makes its move and starts an event, a dance in the ballroom. I think I think tables start to get moved and suddenly everyone like suddenly, you know, you hear thumping as you look around and see several people collapse from sheer cold and hypothermia. Several people like pass out and are carried off by hotel staff, but then they move tables aside and suddenly there's a ballroom dance happening and Franklin stands up and offers you his hand.
I look towards Lester, and wait. I look to see if Lester thinks I should stop, but
Lester looks mortified. I think Lester has this face of like, did that happen last time? Did any of this happen last time?
Well, I will take Franklin's hand and I'll go with him to the dance floor.
The two of you begin dancing, and as you dance, you feel like you can see out the windows that time is flashing faster and faster and faster. And you're staring at Franklin's eyes, and the two of you are dancing, reunited. You're having this connection, and the dance is continuing, and the sun is flashing faster and faster and faster. And suddenly, what you start to see is wrinkles form on Franklin's face, and his hair goes from black to salt and pepper. A gray streak forms, and the sun behind you moves faster and faster and faster. And I think I am going to end an event narrowly avoiding grave consequences and spending a token and cut in, like casually cut in. Enjoy your life together.
Did you? I did not drink anything, so that happened, right?
Oh, it happened, and it is showing on your face.
Oh my God. I touch my face and feel the consequences of a dance on the dance floor as I trace each wrinkle that has suddenly appeared on me.
Do me a favor. And I'm looking you so dead in the eyes at this moment. Remember your last moment with Franklin before this. I need you to give this everything you've got.
I'll spend a token to remember that, and I nod as I close my eyes and think back, and that's when I realize I feel it on my face first. This the wetness from the glass that Franklin threw in my face when I told him that I didn't love him anymore because I was in love with someone else. And I feel my tears mix with the champagne. And as they slide down my face, as I watch him walk away, wishing he had said something to me, screamed at me, done anything other than that one gesture of anger before walking out of my life seemingly forever.
And what you feel on your face in that moment is that time, that passage of time unravel, and you suddenly feel like you are right back where you were moments ago. Suddenly you've gone from feeling like 40 years to have passed to 2 minutes have passed, and we get another section of our threat clock filled in. And I am staring you in the face at the start of this dance. And we get glimpses of the danger and the threat that it brings. And we see glimpses of that sword fight happening and people being knocked over and people succumbing to disease during the Renaissance night. And we see these glimpses of these glimpses taking shape, and we come back and asking you a question. Lester's just like, so what's our next step?
Well, what do you think would happen if we just go pack our suitcases and walk out, call a taxi? Have we ever tried that? I don't know if we have. Maybe we did, though. I apparently spoke to Franklin a week ago and had the same conversation. I am trying not to spin out here, but
I'm here. We're here. We're here in this moment. The best thing that we can do is stay grounded in this moment, my friend. Because I promise you, I am doing everything I can not to spin out as well.
You're right, of course. Well, I think that we should
retreat back to our rooms?
Yes. I was going to suggest that, actually, a place to contemplate and find a resolution to this.
I think that this is perfect. Take a token for finding a place to contemplate your being. And I think that we find ourselves back in I think our rooms are adjoining one another. I don't know if they've always been, but they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And I am meanwhile going to spend a token to find a clue of a haunting nature. Because I think the resolution of your contemplating your being and my haunting clue are the same.
I think so, yes.
We have notes. A lot of them. That now that we are looking, we have found a tremendous amount. I think it is that as you are sitting, you are staring. Let me ask you, actually, I'm gonna throw this to you. This is really this is a question for you. Where has Barty kept his notes about what has happened previously out of the view of the hotel?
Barty keeps them in the tank of the toilet. The classic, he's watched a lot of those old heist movies and everything, and he keeps his secrets hidden in the toilet.
And I think Lester's are written in shorthand on the back of all of the discarded cocktail napkins scattered haphazardly around his room that perennially has a do not disturb sign hanging on the door, and shows up at your door with just an arms full of these napkins and just kind of scatters them across the floor. And
I definitely look disdainfully at this because I have a nice notebook that's neatly bound and detailed, and you have your napkins, but
different strokes. I don't need your judgment.
We'll save it for the hotel.
We have a common enemy.
Yes.
And I'm spending a token to remember as we pore over these notes, and sure enough, 47 days ago, 69 days ago, 91 days ago, attempted to call taxi, attempted to leave. Taxi drove us for an hour, dropped us off, and said, "You've arrived at your destination."
So we've done this, and the taxi is a sort of reset,
It seems.
because once we call it and it brings us here, it's like we're being brought here.
And then the cycle begins again.
So then we should avoid this time. Okay.
Oh, we should avoid, because we, and crucially, and I've spent my last token to remember, crucially, we don't remember calling that taxi. Which means...
Let me spend a token to remember how, through my notes, how our interactions with Franklin went before. And
I think, actually, yeah, how have they gone before?
each time is the same, except this time I touched his knee. And this time there was a connection that hadn't been there before. And the dance with death, if you will be allowed for some drama, that's new. None of that happened before. This is the first time we've changed something.
And I think in my notes, 9 days ago, or thereabouts, was the last time we called a taxi.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, I find my memory, the token that I spent for my memory is, like, there is an unfilled out line that says, "Record results of calling taxi." I'm like, aha. It seems we ran an experiment last time, but did not remember to record the results of the experiment. It seems that by stashing this note, we lost sight of it. And now we have filled in our third one, which will be our second revelation for a shorter game. This is our final revelation, so we will kind of leave this on... We will leave this all unanswered, but we do have a moment where we are revealed of the nature of the danger. All of this is a show for us. All of this is... We are seeing people, like, it is... Eventually, we will be swept up in the joy of the hotel and thus murdered. Like, eventually we will face our death, unless... sometime after arrival, it will get us.
Because everything that we do is a trap that leads to our demise. And
in some way or another, every activity of the hotel is a death trap. To drink the cocktails is to fall victim to some malady. To talk to a loved one is to get swept up into a dance with time. Everything is set up to draw us in and kill us, and we seem to be the sole two targets, because, as our notes reveal, last time it was, one of our previous trips, one of our previous stays, we ran into my husband who was here, and we've run into loved ones before that, and the hotel is pulling out every stop. And it runs us through a set cycle.
And we've only been able to escape because of one another.
Exactly. And I think that our ending note here is that now we have pieced together that we can restart the cycle by calling that taxi and arriving and checking in at the hotel. And we won't remember it when we call this taxi. So... my final question to you. As we board this taxi that is going to drive us for an hour, what have we done to ensure that when we arrive at the hotel next time, we are reminded to grab these notes immediately and not go through the cycle a second time.
We probably, I think that we probably wrote something on our hands.
I like that. I think that what our final visual is we call the our final visual is the two of us stepping out of the taxi. Mm-hmm. We head towards the front desk, and without even thinking about it, because we were just two strangers stepping off the taxi together, one of us takes off a glove. I think Lester's a gloves guy. I think I take off a leather glove just like to shake my hand free, and there's a note on it. And I look at it, and I look at you, and that's game.
Yes.
Yeah, that ruled.
Like that.
That was great. I'm so happy with that. That kicked ass.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Oh, that was cool. That was really cool. I loved slowly unraveling the mystery of this horror hotel. That was unbelievably fun.
It was ridiculously exciting to do this because I admit I didn't know how this was going to go when we sat down to do this, and this was so much fun to put together with you.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that because I had just a magnificent experience with this. This was so cool and so just like... There were moments where I legit felt like an unease in my stomach as we were laying things out. As the pieces were clicking together, I was like, "Oh no, I'm actively unnerved right now." And
same. I was like, "Oh no, what happens?" Oh, and when the dance of death happened, I was like, "Oh no, this is terrible." But
the moment where I was watching, I was like hearing you talk through your memories with Franklin. And the thought popped in my head of like, oh God, we've done this before.
Yes.
I felt so immediately and viscerally like frightened that like I was like, this is the best thing in the world. God, thank you so much for coming on the show and playing this with me. This was the best.
Oh, my pleasure. I am so happy to have been here. This is without the question the highlight of my week right now. So
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you again for this. So real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Sure. So you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Sidekick Productions. That's where you'll find all of the TV series and short films that we make. If you follow me on Instagram at Sidekick Productions, you'll be able to stay in the loop with all the things that we're putting out, and also stay in the loop on our feature film, because that will not be on YouTube. That will be released somewhere, hopefully. So that is something you'll definitely want to be on checking out. You can also follow me on TikTok at Sidekick Productions or on Twitter at Sidekick Prod, because Twitter has character limits. So...
well, thank you again for doing the show. This was fantastic. I'm so happy. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take a future me. Thanks, past me, and thanks again to Joshua for playing this game with me. Sometimes, like, I get to sit back and just listen to an episode, because I played it a fairly long time ago, and, like, take it in and just go, like, damn, this is something really special that we captured on film. And, like, I know from talking to Joshua since then that, like, we both walked away from this feeling like this was a cool and special gameplay storytelling moment, and I'm really glad that, like, it exists for people to listen to. It's really special, and I'm really proud of it. Anyway, be sure to head to the show notes and learn more about all of the work that Joshua is working on. You can find links to all of those things in the show notes, and be sure to head to MV, that's emmv.itch.io, or check the show notes for a link to last year. And finally, be sure to follow Joshua on Instagram at Sidekick Productions and Twitter, as long as that's still a thing, at Sidekick Prod. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Party of One Podcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/Party of One Podcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/Party of One Discord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/Party of One merch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano-Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.